They didn't accidentally build on my land. They knew exactly what they were doing. 96 houses, roads, streetlights, families unloading moving trucks. I inherited 47 acres of untouched Colorado forest from my grandfather. Paid off, taxes current, everything pristine. I hadn't been back in 3 years. Life happened, divorce, 2 kids in college, 70-hour work weeks. But every April I paid the $6,400 in property taxes online. Never late. I had every receipt. In August 2022, I finally drove up to scatter my grandfather's ashes, turned off Highway 36, down the old fire road, and my stomach dropped. The pine forest was gone. In its place, a subdivision of 96 beige Mediterranean-style homes with fake balconies. A carved stone sign read, Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. Same GPS coordinates. My land. At the gate, a security guard blocked me. Residents only. I am the owner, I said, holding up a photo of the deed. He smirked. Sure, buddy. And I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Then a white Range Rover rolled up. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, mid-50s, Botoxed into a permanent look of surprise, dressed head to toe in expensive white linen. The kind of person who'd never been told no by anyone who mattered. Problem, Ray? She asked the guard, not even looking at me at first. This man claims he owns the development. She turned and scanned me, work boots, Carhartt jacket, calloused hands, and I could see her filing me under pour. How charming, she said. Sweetheart, if you're looking for construction work, most crews are full, but I can take your number. I'm not looking for work. I own this property. My grandfather was William Flint. She scrolled on her phone with manicured nails. Our title company did a forensic search. This land was abandoned more than 3 years. That doesn't matter if the property taxes are paid. I cut in. Her smile sharpened. That's adorable. You know, just enough to be dangerous. She held out a business card like it was contaminated. Brian Keir, our attorney. He'll explain why your claim is, what's the term? Frivolous. How many houses have you sold? I asked. All 96. Pre-construction sales, total $16 million. Families moving in by Thanksgiving, she said like a threat. This is a properly permitted development. If you keep trespassing, I'll call Sheriff Mitchell personally. We're major contributors to his department's equipment fund. Then she did something that froze my blood. She snapped a photo of my license plate. Just in case you come back to vandalize anything. We have excellent security footage. And trust me, honey, people like you don't win against people like us. The diesel stink from an excavator mixed with fresh concrete. Nail guns popped like a countdown. I drove home, hands shaking. That night, I spread my grandfather's documents across the kitchen table, the 1971 deed, 47 years of tax receipts, survey maps. Cassandra had threatened me, photographed my truck, and called me a criminal. She'd also handed me everything I needed to destroy her case. On Monday, I called Brian Keir, Cassandra's attorney. His receptionist answered with that voice. The receptionist sounded pleasant in that clinical way dentists do before telling you a root canal's on the horizon. Mr. Keir's in depositions all week. Can I take a message? Dakota Flint, I said. Ridgeline Heights property. Pause. Oh, yes. Mr. Keir anticipated your call. He's authorized me to offer a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if you'll sign a quitclaim deed by Friday. 15 grand. For land worth $4 million. I knew what quitclaim deeds were for my divorce. It's how my ex wound up with a Branson timeshare neither of us wanted. Signing one is basically saying, I give up even if I'm right. My divorce lawyer had warned me, never sign a quitclaim unless you're absolutely sure you're walking away from nothing. Tell Mr. Keir I'll see him in court, I said, and hung up before she could respond. I needed a real attorney, not the $2,200 guy who'd handle my divorce. Someone who made other lawyers double-check their malpractice insurance. My friend Marcus, a civil engineer up in Cheyenne, gave me a single name, Lydia Chin. She'd once beaten a railroad company so badly in an adverse possession fight that they'd offered her a job just to get rid of her. Her consultation fee was $500. I put it on a credit card and prayed. Lydia's office smelled like old leather and lemon polish, the kind of smell that costs money. She was about 60, gray hair in a tight bun, reading glasses on a beaded chain. She let me tell my story start to finish, writing in handwriting so perfect it looked like a font. Show me your tax receipt, she said. I slid across a folder thick enough to injure someone. Email confirmations, bank statements, county records. Every April payment since 2019, plus copies back to my grandfather's first payment in 1971. She flipped through them. The corner of her mouth twitched into something that, on another face, might have been a smile. Colorado adverse possession requires 18 years of continuous hostile occupation, she said, and the squatter has to pay property taxes the entire time. If you've been paying, their claim is dead on arrival. I could file for an injunction to stop construction now. She closed the folder. But here's what I'd do instead, and you're going to think I'm crazy. Let them finish. I blinked. If you stop construction now, Cassandra's company declares bankruptcy. Your land gets tied up for 3 years while 96 families who bought homes in good faith sue everyone. You, the bank, the title company, the county. Legal whack-a-mole. But if you let them finish, then file for a declaratory judgment, you suddenly own 96 completed houses. Whitmore has committed textbook fraud, selling property she doesn't own. They'll be desperate to settle because the alternative is prison. My hands were shaking. What if they somehow win? They won't. And even in some parallel universe where they did, you've lost nothing. Your land's already occupied. The question is whether you fight one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized families. Cold, strategic, brutal, but it makes sense. How much? $40,000 in legal fees, maybe 50. But when we win, and we will, the court awards damages for trespass, unjust enrichment, fraud, and attorney's fees. You'll own the houses outright. Sell them, rent them, negotiate a multimillion-dollar settlement. I had $12,000 in savings. My Silverado needed a transmission. My daughter's tuition was due in January. I'll figure it out, I heard myself say. One last thing, Lydia said, her voice low. Don't contact Cassandra. Don't post on Facebook. Don't tell anyone but your kids and maybe one trusted friend. In property litigation, surprise is worth more than gold. I hired her that day, signed a retainer agreement that made my stomach hurt. September bled into October. Twice a week, I parked on a public road and filmed Ridgeline Heights. Framers swarming like ants, diesel and sawdust in the air, plumbers dragging coils of VX, electricians threading wire. Every visit, timestamp photos. Cassandra spotted me by the 3rd week. She made a phone call, pointing at my truck like it was a bomb. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up. Deputy Torres, young, late 20s, with the body language of a man stuck between a rock and a campaign donor. Sir, need to see your license. I handed it over. I'm on a public road. He ran my plates, came back looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mrs. Whitmore says you've been harassing her, following her, taking pictures. I'm documenting construction on property I own. Check Boulder County records. Parcel APN 55932408. Owner, Dakota Flint. Torres shifted his weight. Look, if there's a property dispute, that's civil court. But she's filed a formal complaint. If she calls again saying you're threatening her, I'll have to take action. Understand. Translation, she donates to the sheriff's re-election fund. I don't. Understood. I kept taking pictures. By November, the first families moved in U-Hauls blocking cul-de-sacs, kids on scooters, pizza delivery mixing with fresh paint. I watched a couple carry a crib into house number 43. Another family planted a maple in their front yard. They weren't villains. They were people who'd saved for down payments, chasing the American dream. But Cassandra, she was about to learn that stealing costs more than money. Thanksgiving week, I got a certified letter. The clerk at the post office, Deb, she'd known my grandfather, wrinkled her nose at the return address. Whitmore Development, LLC. That's the lady building those McMansions on Old Mill Road, right? My sister tried to buy one. Highway robbery. I opened it in my truck. Legal letterhead. Brian Keir's signature. 3 pages of dense legalese boiled down to stop trespassing, or we'll sue you for harassment. A photo was attached, my Silverado parked on the public road, circled in red Sharpie. In the margin, document everything. I drove straight to Lydia's office. She read the letter and started laughing, not polite laughter, but the real kind. They're documenting their own fraud, she said, wiping her eyes. Every letter, every photo, every interaction, it's evidence they knew there was a dispute and kept building. Doesn't feel beautiful, I said. Feels like I'm being stalked. You are. But here's what you're going to do. Nothing. Let them waste money on legal threats. Let them create evidence. We'll file in January, right after the holidays when everyone's distracted. She slid over a yellow legal pad. Meanwhile, I need everything on Cassandra Whitmore. Property records, business filings, tax liens, anything public. And find out who's financing this development. I spent the next 2 weeks as an amateur detective. As an engineer, I could read plats, survey maps, and permit applications. Boulder County records showed Whitmore Development LLC was registered in Delaware. Always a red flag. Cassandra was the sole managing member, but financing came from Ridgeline Capital Group, a Denver investment firm. One of its partners, Preston Whitmore, Cassandra's husband. Preston had been sued twice for construction defects and once for defrauding investors in a failed resort project. Settled quietly. Records sealed. This wasn't just Cassandra's scam. It was a family business. I found more. The county permits listed the land as formerly tax delinquent, acquired via adverse possession filed March 2022. But here's the thing about adverse possession. You can't just file a claim and start selling property. You have to win a judgment in court and record it first. They'd skipped that step. They filed a claim and immediately started selling lots as if they already owned them. That's fraud. Documented, premeditated fraud. I sent everything to Lydia via encrypted email. She called an hour later. Dakota, this is better than I thought. Preston Whitmore has a pattern. If we can prove he knew about your ownership and went ahead anyway, this is criminal fraud, not just civil trespass. How do we prove it? Let me worry about that. You keep your head down. Keeping my head down got harder when Cassandra escalated. On December 3rd, Boulder County Code Enforcement called. A man named Rick Polson, sounding tired of life. Mr. Flint, we've received a report you're operating an illegal dumping site on parcel 559-3240. What? I don't even live there. The complaint says there are piles of construction debris, old vehicles, possible hazardous waste. I'm required to inspect. Fines start at $500 per day. I drove up with my phone recording. The property was pristine, except for the 96 houses Cassandra had built. Rick met me at the entrance, clipboard in hand. Sunburned, about 50, wearing a county vest. He walked the perimeter, checked behind the houses, took photos. Finally, he shook his head. There's nothing here. Someone filed a false report. Who filed it? He checked his notes. Anonymous tip, but it came through Mrs. Whitmore's office as a concerned citizen complaint. So Cassandra was trying to get me fined for violations that didn't exist on land she was occupying. Rick gave me a long look. Off the record, I've inspected 6 Whitmore projects. Every single one had complaints filed against neighboring landowners right before construction permits were approved. It's a pattern. He handed me his card. If you need a witness statement, call me. I drove home with that card in my pocket and rage in my chest. Cassandra wasn't just stealing my land. She was trying to bury me in bureaucratic quicksand while she finished construction. But what she didn't know, what nobody knew except Lydia, was that every move she made was digging her own grave. By Christmas, 84 houses were occupied. Families hung lights, kids built snowmen, and I had a court date scheduled for January 12th. January 4th, 8 days before court, my daughter Emma texted me at 11 p.m. Dad, did you get arrested? Someone posted on Facebook that you're harassing families. It has 300 shares. My stomach dropped. I hadn't touched Facebook since my divorce, but I opened it and found the post immediately. Pinned to the top of the Boulder County Community Watch group. Written by Cassandra. Alert. Local man, Dakota Flint, has been stalking our family-friendly Ridgeline Heights community, taking photos of children, making residents feel unsafe. He claims to own our neighborhood despite clear legal title. Boulder County Sheriff's aware. Please report any sightings. Protect your families. The comments were a dumpster fire. People calling me a predator, suggesting I belonged on a registry. Someone posted a photo of my Silverado with the license plate visible. Caption, this is his truck. Stay safe, everyone. My hand shook so hard I could barely type. I called Lydia. She answered on the first ring. I saw it. Don't respond. Don't comment. Don't defend yourself. She's calling me a pedophile, Lydia. My daughter's crying. My son called asking if I'm going to jail. I know. And it's defamation. We're adding it to the lawsuit. But if you engage, you look guilty. Let me handle this. Her voice softened. Dakota, this is what desperate people do. She knows we filed. She knows her attorney's seen our evidence. This is a Hail Mary to discredit you before trial. It's working. I've gotten 12 messages from people I went to high school with asking what's going on. Good. Screenshot everything. Every share, every comment, every message. It's all evidence of malice. I spent the next 3 hours documenting the post spread. By midnight, it had 847 shares. Someone had even created a hashtag, #StopDakotaFlint. I didn't sleep. The next morning, my boss called me into his office. Martin was ex-Navy, ran the structural engineering firm I'd worked at for 14 years. He closed the door, which was never a good sign. Dakota, I got a call this morning from a potential client. They Googled our firm and found a situation with your name attached. The Facebook post, I said. He rubbed his face. Yeah. Look, I know you. You're solid. But this client's a school district, and they're nervous about optics. They specifically asked if you'd be on the project, and I told them no. I said you're on personal leave pending resolution of a legal matter, which, effective today, you are. He pulled out an envelope. Paid leave. 2 weeks. If this gets resolved, you're back immediately. If it doesn't, he didn't finish. I took the envelope. Understood. Walking to my truck, I passed Jenny from accounting. She'd always been friendly. Brought cookies at Christmas, asked about my kids. She saw me coming and crossed to the other side of the parking lot. That's when it hit me. Cassandra wasn't just attacking my legal claim. She was attacking my life, my reputation, my job, my ability to exist in my own town. I sat in my truck and called Lydia again. They're destroying me. I just got put on leave. People are crossing the street to avoid me. I'm filing an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Cassandra. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, interference with business relations. We'll have a hearing Monday. She paused. But Dakota, you need to understand something. This gets worse before it gets better. If you want to walk away, I'll negotiate a settlement. You'll get something. Maybe $500,000. You can move. Start over. I thought about Grandpa's note. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. No, I said. We finish this. Then buckle up, she said. They're going to hit harder. She was right. January 7th. Someone spray-painted pervert across my garage door. I filed a police report. The responding officer, Patterson, looked tired enough to be carved out of stone. He took photos with the enthusiasm of a man filling out DMV paperwork. Any idea who did this? Check the Facebook post going around. Probably someone who believed it. He wrote something down. We'll increase patrols in your area. That night, I slept with a baseball bat next to my bed. January 9th, 3 days before court. My daughter Emma called, crying. Someone had sent her the Facebook post with a message, "Your dad's a creep and everyone knows it." I drove to her apartment in Fort Collins. She and her roommate were on the couch, both looking at me like I might be radioactive. Dad, just tell me the truth. Are you really stalking people? I sat down and told her everything. The land, Cassandra, the lawsuit, the houses. I showed her Grandpa's deed, the tax receipts, Lydia's court filings. Emma read through them, and I watched her face change from fear to fury. So she's lying about everything. Everything. Then we need to fight back. Lydia says we wait for court. Emma shook her head. Dad, you've been playing defense your whole life. Divorce, work, everything. Just once, hit first. Her words stuck with me. January 11th, the night before court. I got one final message from an unknown number. Drop the lawsuit or everyone finds out what you really are. I forwarded it to Lydia. She replied instantly. Perfect. Bring your phone to court tomorrow. We're going to bury them. The Boulder County Courthouse smelled like floor wax and recycled air. I met Lydia outside courtroom 3C at 8:45 a.m. She wore a navy suit that probably cost more than my truck and carried a briefcase that could stop bullets. You ready? She asked. I'm not sure. My only suit, Emma's graduation suit, felt too tight in the shoulders. Do we have enough? We have a nuclear bomb, she said. Trust me. Cassandra's attorney had filed a motion to Deer's face went white. Judge Ramirez read it, eyebrows climbing higher with each line. Counselor Keir, did you know about this email? Your Honor, I've never seen that document before. It was submitted in discovery last week, Lydia said smoothly. Perhaps it got lost in your office. I leaned over. What does it say? Lydia slid me a copy. I read it and felt my heart hammering. From Preston Whitmore, Cassie spoke with our title attorney. The Flint parcel is not abandoned. Owner, William Flint's grandson, has been paying property taxes continuously since 2019. Adverse possession claim won't hold up in court. However, if we move fast, file the AP claim, get permits approved, and start selling lots before anyone notices, we can create enough chaos that Flint either settles cheap or gets buried in litigation costs. Worst case, we build everything, file bankruptcy, and let the title insurance companies sort it out. We've done this before. Aspen Project, 2019. Risk level medium. Reward level significant. They knew. They knew they were stealing my land. Lydia's voice was steady. This email proves the defendants engaged in intentional fraud. They knew Mr. Flint owned the property. They knew their adverse possession claim was baseless. They proceeded anyway, banking on the fact that most people can't afford to fight a multimillion-dollar legal battle. Judge Ramirez looked at Preston and Cassandra. Is this email authentic? Preston started to stand, but Keir grabbed his arm. Your Honor, we need to consult with our clients. That sounds like a yes. The judge closed the folder. Here's what's going to happen. Motion to dismiss is denied. This case proceeds to trial on an expedited schedule. In the meantime, I'm issuing a temporary restraining order. Whitmore Development will cease all sales, marketing, and transfer of property related to Ridgeline Heights pending resolution. She turned to Cassandra. And Mrs. Whitmore, if I see one more Facebook post, one more anonymous tip, or one more threat directed at Mr. Flint, I will hold you in contempt. Are we clear? Cassandra's confidence had drained completely. Yes, Your Honor, she whispered. Outside the courthouse, Lydia finally smiled. That email came from a whistleblower. One of Preston's old partners. Aspen Deal, 2019. They burned him. He's been waiting 5 years for payback. How did you find him? She adjusted her briefcase. I'm very good at my job. For the first time in 4 months, I felt like I could breathe. That night, I bought a bottle of whiskey I couldn't afford and sat on my back porch watching the snow fall, thinking about how close I'd come to losing everything, and how this was only the beginning. My phone buzzed every 5 minutes. Emma, my son Tyler, Marcus from Wyoming, even my ex-wife Jennifer sending a cautious text. Heard you had a good day in court. But the message that mattered came from Lydia at 9:47 p.m. My office tomorrow. 10 a.m. bring coffee. We're building the kill shot. I showed up at 9:30 with 2 large coffees and a box of donuts that felt appropriate for planning someone's legal destruction. Lydia's conference room had a whiteboard covering an entire wall, already half filled with names, dates, and colored arrows connecting them like a crime web. You brought donuts, she said, grabbing a glazed one. I like you more now. What's all this? This, she said, tapping the board with a marker, is how we turn your property dispute into a criminal referral. She drew a circle around Preston's name. The email was the grenade. Now we're bringing the artillery. She'd spent the night with her paralegal, tracking every Whitmore project from the last decade. There were 7 small mountain towns, same pattern every time. Find land with unclear title or aging owners. File aggressive claims. Build fast, sell faster, and let the insurance companies clean up the wreckage. They're not developers, Lydia said. They're land pirates with LLCs. But here's why your case is different. You have records. Real ones. Your grandfather's ledgers, tax receipts, survey maps, even photos with GPS timestamps. Most of their victims were elderly or disorganized. They couldn't prove continuous ownership. You can. She pulled a yellow legal pad from her stack. Here's the plan. Phase 1, discovery. We deposed Preston, Cassandra, the title company, the lender, every contractor who touched that subdivision. Someone always cracks. Usually the title company, they're terrified of losing their license. I remembered what my divorce lawyer once told me. Depositions are like fishing with dynamite. People think they can lie. But lawyers like Lydia ask the same question 17 different ways until you trip yourself up. Phase 2, she continued. We add RICO charges. RICO? Like the mafia. Exactly. Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. If we prove a pattern of fraud across multiple projects, and it goes federal. Federal means treble damages. She wrote a number on the board. 1.63 for 88 million. That's what they're facing if they lose. My mouth went dry. Can they even pay that? No. Which is why they'll settle. But here's the beauty. Preston and Cassandra personally guaranteed the construction loans. If Whitmore Development collapses, the banks will come after their personal assets. Houses, cars, accounts, everything. She smiled, the kind of smile that belonged to someone who enjoyed winning more than she enjoyed breathing. What do I need to do? I asked. 3 things, she said, counting on her fingers. First, I need you to map every single visit you made to the property. Dates, times, witnesses, everything. Torres, Pole's son, whoever saw what they did. Second, I need allies. Contractors, neighbors, ex-employees, anyone who's been burned by the Whitmores. Third, this goes public. Not Facebook, that's Cassandra's swamp. I'm talking Channel 9 Denver. Patricia Hughes, investigative reporter, 2 Emmys. She lives for stories like this. Here's what I'm proposing, I said. I'm transferring ownership of all 96 homes to the Ridgeline Heights Community Trust, a nonprofit we're establishing today. Each family will own their home through the trust at the price you originally paid. No mortgages, no interest, just what you've already invested. If you've paid $485,000, you owe nothing more. If you still have payments left, you'll finish them to the trust at 0 interest. Someone gasped. Sarah Chin started crying. The trust will use those funds to maintain roads, cover property taxes, and establish a scholarship fund for kids in this community. My grandfather believed land was about legacy, not profit. This is his legacy. Applause started softly, then swelled like a thunderstorm. People were hugging, crying, shouting thank yous across the room. Mr. Rodriguez walked up and shook my hand so hard I thought he'd dislocate my shoulder. You're a good man, he said. Your grandfather raised you, right? The scholarship fund launched that September. The William Flint Memorial Scholarship, $10,000 annually for a Colorado student studying engineering, forestry, or environmental science. Emma helped me set it up. She said Grandpa would have loved that his ledgers, once filled with timber sale records, were now helping fund someone's education. I kept 5 acres for myself at the north end of the property, where the old-growth pine still stood. Built a small 2-bedroom cabin there, nothing fancy. Sold my house in town and moved in last October. Now I wake up every morning to pine-scented air and the sound of deer grazing outside my window. Tyler visits on weekends. Emma brings her boyfriend, a law student, naturally. Even Jennifer, my ex-wife, stopped by once with her new husband. Said she was proud of me. It felt strange, but good. Patricia Hughes did a follow-up story in December. From property theft to community triumph, how one man turned injustice into justice. It won her a 3rd Emmy. Last week, Sarah Chin's daughter sent me a drawing, a crayon house with a stick figure labeled Mr. Dakota, holding a giant deed. It's on my fridge now, pinned by a magnet shaped like Colorado. I think about Grandpa's note sometimes. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. He was right. But what's mine isn't just land or money. It's knowing that 96 families sleep safely because I didn't quit. It's a scholarship that'll help some stubborn, broke kid chasing a dream. It's justice, the real kind. The kind that heals. So here's my question for you. Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare, property dispute, someone who thought they could steamroll you because they had money and you didn't? Drop your story in the comments. Let's build a library of how regular people beat corrupt systems. And if this story reminded you that good people can still win, hit that subscribe button. I've got more stories like this, stories about the little guy outsmarting the machine. Stories with receipts. Next week, the city council denied my business permit, so I found the bylaw that made me untouchable. See you then. And remember, keep your receipts. All of them.